Charlie, you mentioned wide receivers, being the surprise of fall camp. I was looking at the notes. Bryce McNeil that hasn't shown up on the notes. Is there anything with him?
Well, Bryce McNeil is no longer a part of our program.
Charlie, Joker announced that Josh Clemens was officially out for Sunday. How might that impact their running game?
Well, Josh was an outstanding back, and anytime you lose a starter, which he was last year, it hurts your program. I mean, if we were to lose one of our backs, it would hurt us.
What do you expect from Kentucky offensively? What's the key for your defense in this game?
Well, they're very multiple, and if you look at it, they're so good on defense. It may be one of those games where they play to their defense, which is what we do a lot. We play to our defense, so it's all about stopping the running game. Can they come in here and control the ball, and with the short passing game, and then run the ball when they need to, run the ball effectively, and that's what's got to be key for us to go in and go stop the run.
You talk about being the underdog versus the favorite role in a big rivalry game. Last year coming in, you all were the underdog. I know you said some things to get your guys fired up. It seemed to work. This year Kentucky's the underdog. Do you have to kind of guard your guys against that, because they're going to probably be coming in hungry as well?
Well, I said to our guys, we have not been. Kentucky has won here since '06. They've won the last 4 out of 5 times, and when you look at it. Always say to us, we will always stay the hunter. A lot of times we're going to become the hunted because of where we rank, but we're going to stay the hunter. We're going to each week we're going to go out and prepare like we are always the underdog. Even though we've taken that step, but we're still not good enough. Let's make sure within our room, that we know exactly who we are.
You've talked several times about not just Teddy, the whole offense, all the young guys getting better, but what have you seen from Teddy that makes him a better player now than he was at the end of last season?
And I still say that, like the whole team is getting better, and Teddy has. Now that he knows the offense, he's more comfortable with the offense, he's becoming more of a student of the game, and is being more willing to be a voice. Last year he didn't say that. Now he's voice, he makes the checks, and that's what's really good for him, because we're putting it on him where he has to do it.
Troy, what's your feeling about the new kickoff rule? You like it? Feel like it might cut down on injuries?
Well, any rule that's going to eliminate injuries, I'm totally for it. And you would like to see a lot of the balls get kicked out of the end zone, and that's where a lot of the major collisions happen, because you see those guys on the kickoff running down, and a lot of times, with kickoff return teams, if you have a guy who's coming from the side and he never sees a guy coming from the side, that's where the big hits happen. But any rule that's going to help us and that's going to eliminate injury, I'm all for it.
Charlie, what do you want to see when your team comes out on Sunday afternoon in the pregame to know that they're focused in and it's not your infamous fake juice stuff?
Well, you're going to, with this game, you don't really have to say anything, because they've been hitting one another so much that you just expect when we walk out there, they're going to be ready to go play. What you have to guard against is making sure that you get them under control, where the emotions are not so high that they forget about, hey, we got to go play a football game. Let's make sure we can control the emotions and make sure we don't get out of hand with all the jawing and all the talking. And let's just go play the football game. Now, because we've been in practice, you've been banging on one another, then you have a chance to go hit someone else.
Charlie, what's your practice schedule the rest of the week?
We will practice on, we approach it just like we were going to play Saturday. So every Monday we're off as a team. So we will practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the way up until Saturday.
We do some heavy hitting, or
we've hit enough. We've had some really. You can ask Cupper when you get up here. We've had some really good hitting practices. I think I need to back away a little now, because we have really hit. This has been a really good physical camp for us.
Because you've built depth, are you able to hit more in fall camp? You're able to kind of see that toughness?
Well, what you like to do is anytime. What you don't ever want to do is become complacent, and you don't ever want to slip. So the way you can manage that is by the way you practice and the way you go about practice. And it has to continue with being physical in practice. And a lot of times people think that, hey, when you rank so high that you can pull away, that's when you make it tougher and you really drive them and you make it harder. When you rank, then you have a chance to go have a good football team.
Last year you prepared for a different quarterback, now Max Smith. What does he show that you have to adjust to on defense with his ability?
Well, what you've been able to see, you've been able to see him play because we have games where he started last season. So it's all about them still being their off. They're going to run their offense, whether it's Max or whoever they put in at quarterback. So no, but he's not the running type. But we have to go stop the run, whether it's a running back running the ball or the quarterback.
Charlie, how exactly has that manifested itself? You're saying, with the ranking and the expectations that you've pushed them harder. I mean, just in terms of more physical practices, or are there other things that you point to?
Well, it's all about just each and every day making sure that we focus on the task at hand. And what we have to do is make sure that the guys understand, okay, even though you may be ranked, and you deserve it, and I tell them all the time, you probably deserve to be ranked where you are, but it's still, you have to work. So no one's going to give you anything. And at the end of the day, it's all about us coming out here on this practice field to get better each and every day. Let's not waste a day. I tell them all that, don't punch that clock. Don't punch that clock. Continue to work and work and work. And then at the end of the day, we'll just see where we are. Now, that doesn't happen every day. Sometimes they walk out there and want to punch that clock, and I can see why, because a lot of times the way we practice, that's going to happen.
And is there, just based on your previous, highly ranked teams at other places and everything, are there any comparisons to make? Like, do you allow yourself to praise this team yet? Or because you haven't played any games, it's still, you're just going to drive it into?
It's so hard to praise right now just because you haven't played, and then when you have to build a program, you just don't want to take a step back. And that's why I said in the beginning, what type of team are we going to have? Will we be that team that's going to be self-satisfied? Are we going to be cocky? Or we're going to be arrogant? And a lot of times that happens when you haven't had success. And then all of a sudden someone places you on that pedestal. Then, a lot of times guys think because they were placed there, I don't have to work to get there. And that's what you don't ever want to see happen. So you have to manage it, and it's why and that's why I don't talk about it. So that guys, we're not going to even talk about it. We're going to go about this like we've been going since we've been here. And all you young guys, just follow the older guys, just follow the guys here in the front of the room, because they understand how to work and they've been in the program.
You talked a couple of times about the Marshall game and the Pitt game last year in reference to the conversation. Do you see any of those signs at all, or is it completely different type of feel as you get ready for team number one?
Well, what happens, you just have you have different players now. So most of those seniors have moved on. So you just have a whole different mindset of guys, because they understand, because some of those guys that are in the program now were a part of that game, were part of both of those games. So you don't see it so much because they understand the step that they can take backwards by getting full of themselves. And that's what we can't allow to happen, for them to get full of themselves.
Charlie, how important is this game as far as in-state recruiting? And a lot of guys, as more and more guys in the state are getting Division I offers from both schools, how important is it to get the momentum in that regard?
Well, if you look at in-state recruiting, most of these guys are leaving anyway. I mean, we just got to find a way for both our programs to keep them here. I mean, seriously, they're all leaving. The good players are leaving, so we just got to find a way to get them here and make sure that they stay at home. Go either if they go to Kentucky or come here, I'll be all happy. But we got to find a way to keep them home.
Charlie, besides the ones you mentioned, who are some of the freshmen and redshirt freshmen that were playing?
Well, right now, if you look at our freshman class, with the linebackers Burgess and Keith Brown, and you have Hunter Bowles that is sitting there right now. We have to make a decision on Garcia. We have to make a decision on. But with a lot of those freshmen, just because of what we've built so far, you have to just throw them into the battle right now. And it's just that we've been very fortunate with that group that we just had. Because what has happened in the program, like a Champ Lee is coming on, a Titus Teague is coming on, a Zed Evans, guys that have been in the program, and now they are becoming players where they add depth that we didn't think that we would have.
Charlie, before the first game, most coaches will tell you, I really won't know until we line up and play. But what does your gut instinct tell you about this team? Just watching them in fall camp and knowing what you know about it.
I'd like to see, Chip, I'd just like to see this team just line up and go play hard. and just play fast and just play with some confidence. That's why I like to see that happen with this football team. That when we line up, when we take the field like we are a big-time program, and we walk out there, we carry ourselves like it. And that's what you talk to them all about, guys. Let's carry ourselves like it, and let's come out with an attitude, like an attitude of dominance, where we're gonna go and go play the game, and we're gonna play every snap. We're not gonna take plays off. We're gonna play every snap. And that's like what I like to see from this football team.
Charlie, just to follow up on McNeil, did he leave on his own or was he dismissed for violating the rule?
Oh, he did not violate a rule. He left on his own. I always say this, a lot of times when you get transfers in, this program isn't for everybody. And some guys can handle it, some can't. But he was an outstanding player, but he just said he didn't want to play football anymore.
In terms of this game, I mean, granted, it's just one game, but when you open the season with a rivalry game, and looking at where you all are right now, how important is this in terms of, win or lose, in terms of the overall impact? What kind of carryover can this have?
Oh, it's big. It's your first game of the season. It is rival, and then because you look at it within the state, you have such a split in the state. So somebody's going to get the bragging rights after Sunday. They're going to get the bragging rights for a whole year. So it's so critical. But what's critical is your first game of the season. So you want to see what type of team you really have also.
All right, guys?